Sideline Sports Network. I hope y'all are having a Noel-tastic. Hope everyone is enjoying their dinner time and stuff to that nature. Sorry, I had a message that came across and I was trying to read it real quick. First off, I want to give a huge shout out to Jacob Bolger for becoming a member on YouTube. I'm calling the members Spear Chiefs, being that the show's called Sporadics, and the memberships are Silver Chief, Gold Chief, or Platinum Chief. So I figured that would be the best thing to call the members. So if you haven't become a Spear Chief yet, make sure that you check out the description of the video where it says join. That's going to take you straight to the page where you can join and become a member, which enters you into giveaways. It enters you into, like tonight, for instance, I'm giving away 2 softball doubleheader tickets to tomorrow's game, which, yes, that's soon. That's very quick. So hopefully someone that can make it to the game wins. I preferably won't be giving it to someone that can't go because it doesn't make any sense. But if you're a member, you're already entered in it to win. If you have subscribed to the channel, you're already entered to win. Now, in particular, I don't always make it to where subscribers and members are eligible to get something. Usually the members have the rights to getting everything, and subscribers get the rights to most things. But with this one being such short notice, I'm trying to give everyone an opportunity to, because I came across these tickets late. They are on the third baseline. They're very good tickets. So if you would be interested in going to the game for free, 2 tickets, make sure that you comment on this video or comment on one of the posts on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. Any of the places, just let me know, and that will make sure you're in the hat to potentially go to the game. But if you are not capable of going to the game, please don't make sure that you enter. With that, tonight, I've got both guys backstage. They joined just a tad bit late before I started, so I'll be bringing both of them up here shortly. But tonight, we're going to be talking about position changes, what it could look like for Florida State on the defense moving forward for the 2023 season. We've got some guys that are moving around and could potentially be huge impacts to what 2023 season is going to look like, especially on defense. And who we like in those certain positions, and who we might also recommend, or give our opinion on who we think would be good fits at certain positions. Seeing how there are some position changes happening, and so far I'm in full agreement with all of the ones that are being made. There's certain ones that we can release. There's certain ones we can't. So the ones that we can, that's what we'll be talking about. The ones that we can't, we'll be hinting around them. So don't take everything verbatim, because it's not necessarily maybe the right position or the right person, but we will be hinting around some of those things. So first, I'll be bringing James and Chip on real quick. How's it going, fellas?
What's going on, Chris? James?
Doing good. What's going on?
Well, 7:30 got here quicker than I anticipated, so it put me behind as well. So I apologize if there was any of my doing on y'all not getting it quick enough. But letting everyone know that they have the ability to winning 2 tickets to the doubleheader tomorrow for the softball team, that's pretty much out of the way. Tonight's episode is going to be based off of, mainly we're talking about position changes. We've got Coop that is being moved over to the safety position, which we kind of all anticipated. We all talked about it previous to this, but now that it's a for sure thing that they are definitely moving him to safety, it gives us a great idea of what the defense is going to look like for the most part. There's also some talks of Jerrion Jones possibly seeing the safety position a little bit due to his ability to hit and also his ability to read the field. Plus, it gives him that extra step back to survey the field. He ended up doing a really great job last year, and so did Coop, in my opinion, as far as The later half of the season, I felt like they started coming along better, especially Jerry Jones. I think he did a really good job of showing up. But we're going to start off with talking about Coop because Coop was the one that was officially named that would be moving to the safety position, and kind of get the feel if y'all like Coop moving to the position, or if there's someone else that you think would fit the position, or multiple guys that could potentially fit the safety position. But James, what are your thoughts on the potential of Coop being at the safety position, replacing Jamie Robinson?
I think it's good. I mean, you're getting a guy when you can't really cover as well. You've been having, been kind of like struggling there. Sometimes a change of position kind of gives you that little shake that you need. Also, when you look at how the DB position is played in general, you really are like with the spread, you're in quarters, which is basically man. So you need your safeties to have coverage skills, but still be the guy to be able to bail somebody out at the end. So I think it also helps him with his stock. If he's able to go here and excel, he's going to be a guy that you can see kind of like what we did with Jamie Robinson. At times, we put Jamie Robinson as a nickel corner. So it's a lot of good, a lot of upside, and you're strengthening a position that obviously got weakened by losing one of your best players.
Chip, what are your thoughts about? How do I say this the right way? I don't want to ask the same questions, but I'm going to have to a little bit. So, do you feel like, I don't know that there's anyone on the team that we can necessarily say is going to replace Jamie Robinson, because Jamie was a different type of beast at that position.
Hey, there's no filling those shoes. You have an athlete like that. once in a lifetime, once in a decade. I mean, the kid made plays for us for Lord knows how many years. All I can say is trust the process. The coaches are going to put their athletes in the best situations to get the most out of them. And I think, he's got coverage skills and he likes to hit. Why not try it out? That's what spring football's for.
What do you think about the possibility of Jerry Jones or someone else also potentially being seen at the safety position? Because we all know that not even Jamie was able to play every snap. There was times that someone else stepped in to play the safety position. So, is there anyone that stands out to you that could potentially take that role on when it's time for Coop to take a break?
Jarian definitely could. I'm trying to think of some other players off the top of my head that could step in.
I think Fintrell Cypress, being the and I'm getting this from Crow, because Crow was on a space with us who talked about this a lot, and Crow said good corners can play safety, and corners can switch from corner to safety, but switching safeties to corners is a whole nother ball game. It's extremely hard. So, James, would you like to comment on like what Crow's talking about? How one's like easier in that change than the other? Can't hear him at the moment, but what Crow did say about the situation was that switching from safety to corner isn't necessarily an easy job, because you go from seeing such a short side of the field to all of the field, and it's something that you don't just get used to. You have to play at that position for time for it to work out. But great corners going to safety, it gives them more play room, which means it gives them more opportunity to make decisions, and they have a quicker ability to make up ground because of it. The three people that you see on the show are the main co-host of the show. Myself being the host, James being a co-host, and Chip being a co-host. Anyone other than that are guests on the shows. So no, to the question that's down below, no, he's no longer part of the show.
Chris, what you were mentioning, I mean, I know it's kind of off subject, but it's on subject. think of Charles Woodson towards the end of his career with the Packers. He went from playing corner and transitioned to safety and did it at an all-pro level. So, I mean, for going from seeing a big portion of the field to a smaller portion of the field, like you said, is a lot easier from going from a small to a big.
Right.
Basically, what Chip just said, that's what was going to be my
Example.
talk about that. Deion Sanders did something similar too. We all know him as a corner, but we remember when he was in Baltimore, he played safety a little bit as well. So it's kind of going back to what I was talking about earlier with the progression of how the spread offense is. You have to have guys who could cover, because you're going to be in situations where there's 4 wide receivers. So you can't just keep going out and switching. You may have one safety high to be able to help, but if multiple people get beat, that puts you in a bad spot. So you need 4 guys who can cover. Typically, you're in a cover 4 situation, but cover 4 is man until it's not. So those are the things that you got to really pay attention to. So I think shifting this kid over to that, again, like I said earlier, it helps his draft stock, but it also improves the team as a whole.
I agree. And everyone, while we're going through this moment, make sure that you go and check out James's YouTube channel. He's got it up there as his name. It's youtube.com/Den Media Group. Make sure that y'all go check that out and subscribe to the channel. Not only does he already cover a lot of stuff about Florida State, he also covers multiple other things on his show. But he and I were just talking about this. You'll start seeing some more Florida State content coming up on his channel as well. So be on the lookout for that. A lot more Florida State content is going to be on his channel. So if that's the biggest reason that you like watching what James has got to say, well, there's going to be a lot more Florida State content going on his channel soon. So make sure that you go subscribe now. That way you don't miss any of it, because y'all know James, when he hits the ground, he hits it running. So you won't ever catch that back again. It'll just be still going full force, ahead. And I'm with Till Dog on this one. He made a comment on Travis J. You will see Travis J, in my opinion. You will see Travis J this year. As long as he has all of his ducks in a row, you will see him on the field, and I think you will see him at the safety position. Not so much at the corner position because of who has came in, as in Fentrell Cypress. Ronaldo Green is doing such a good job. And even me personally, I would rather see Travis at the safety position and leave Jarian in the corner position, because I think Jarian has really figured out the corner position at Florida State. The biggest thing that helped Jarian Jones this year was that he stayed healthy. The year previous to that, he was dealing with so many nagging injuries. He had this lower ankle sprain that kept bothering him. Then he had a high ankle sprain. Then he had a knee sprain. And he also had his hand where I think he broke it in 2 places. So there was games you saw him, it looked like he had an oven mitten on because his hand was broke. So there was multiple times that people were getting after Jarian because of either getting burnt or letting someone catch over him. But this past season in 2022, statistically, he ended up being one of the highest ranked cornerbacks, not only on Florida State's team, not only in the ACC, but in the entire country. So by being healthy, he really turned his game around. He was able to show people what his true athletic ability was and how smart he was at the position. So I think Jarian has really found his niche at the corner position. So I don't really want to see him get moved to safety too much. I'm okay with Coop doing it because Coop's done it. And what I mean by that is Coop knows the position well. He stepped in for Jamie multiple times in the past season. He also puts on a bigger hit, in my opinion. And I think safeties are that guy that's going to strip the ball. If someone already got to the 3rd level, that means that they've already gotten way too many yards. So I'd prefer you to try to be getting a turnover or something to that nature. And just what Jamie was great at. He reached in and stripped the ball multiple times at that position because of his ability to do so. And I think that Coop has that same ability. Another position that we're going to talk about, because it's starting to look like the running back room. How are you going to feed all of these guys and make sure that they want to stick around or make sure that they stay happy? The running back room obviously has multiple guys, but the room that I'm talking about, keeping happy, and I don't want to say it like if we don't make sure that they get to play, that they're going to be walking, because some of them don't have the opportunity. This is their last season, but the tight end room has went from, oh Lord, what are we going to do, to now we have more tight ends than we probably know what to do with. Well, normal people. So Norvell is going to utilize his tight ends, in my opinion, the same way that he's going to utilize his running backs. James talked about this on the Mark Rogers show, so I want him to get his point across on this subject, because I really enjoyed the answer, and it was kind of cool because I got to ask the question on Mark Rogers for it. But James, when it comes to Kyle Morlock that we brought in, Jaheim Bell that we brought in, and then you cannot overlook Biscuit because of what he was capable of doing this past season. And then you throw in your young true or redshirt freshman, Jarrell Powers, which is, I mean, he has done very well on tour of duty. How do you keep these guys happy? And is there a situation where you can have those three tight ends, or at least three tight ends on the field at once?
I mean, yeah, there's numerous times. I mean, we saw this with Georgia. You could have a four tight end package when you have guys as dynamic as Jaheim Bell, and I would even go as far as saying, I believe, was it Brian Courtney? Is that the kid? Who's the kid
That's
we got
correct.
from Virginia? I think he scored a touchdown, tight end to tight end, basically. Wyatt Rector, or 2-point conversion, excuse me. Wyatt Rector was able to help him score. You got two guys that actually can play the position like a wide receiver, but are also stocky enough to block. Tight ends like this create so many different mismatches that unless you have a defense like Georgia, um, it's it's tough to be able to defend that. But what I want people to realize is that Biscuit ain't just coming here to give up his spot. Like, it's cool that Murlock got recruited very high, and I believe he has three to play two, if I remember correctly. It's cool that Jaheim Bell actually has 2 years. Jaheim Bell is going to see the field, but he technically has two more seasons left under his belt. But when you look at what Biscuit's able to do at 6'7", bigger guy, almost I think they flirted with moving him to tackle, but he's athletic enough. He's got sure enough hands. He can make it. He can do enough to where he can potentially be an NFL tight end. Now you mix that with Jaheim Bell, who came out as a wide receiver, has played running back. He's 6'3", I believe, 230, or around that range. He's the guy that now, when you're in a goal line situation, as opposed to just going out and putting DJ Lundy at fullback, you can now put him as the wingman, and now your play action, he can block well enough to be able to chip a linebacker or chip a defensive end, or in play action be extremely dangerous coming out of the backfield. And when you've got a running back like Trey Benson, who's physical and knows what to do, now you're in a situation where people have to make decisions, and it's hard. You're either going to sell out on a run because Trey Benson has shown a propensity to be able to hurt you there, and if you do that, now you've got 6'7" wide receiver, 2 6'7" tight ends, and a 6'3" wide receiver coming out of the backfield that can do all kinds of different things. And that's just the guys that we kind of know about. But like you said, like I just talked about Brian Courtney. You talked about man, I can't think of the other tight end that we were just talking about, the redshirt
Jarrell.
tight end, Jarrell Powers, who's a pretty good athlete. It's depth, and I've heard this term in business, and you never want to hear it this way, but it's the truth. It's a problem that you would rather have, because
Right.
it's gonna be like, it's like when you get an influx of revenue, and you don't have enough people or have enough product um to be able to supply the needs of what people have given you. People say it's a good problem to have. It's also stressful as a business owner, so I can see it being stressful. But that's where culture and guys got to continue to build, and see what the future is. I mean, at the end of the day, the goal is to be able to put the best foot forward, and I think that's all these coaches can say. At worst, you'll come here, and we're going to put you in a position to where you'll be at another school and you'll be the guy there. At best, you'll be in the NFL.
Huge shout out to William McMillan for the super sticker. He gave a thumbs up with the hand gesture with the words top. So he was agreeing with what was said right above him, where someone had commented Biscuit is going to start better all around, in my opinion. And then also, he said fingers still crossed for Singletary. Go Knowles.
Not getting Jaheim. He's not coming. Not Jaheim. Excuse me. Yeah, my bad. We're not. Slim's not coming.
Yeah, the way that I've heard that it worked out, it doesn't fit. So it doesn't seem like Singletary will be coming to Florida State. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. There's not a situation where it fits the system the way we thought. So, you hit on some, you miss on others. And I do agree with this particular comment as well from Sean. He says that our offense is going to be nasty. But before we get to that, I'm going to ask Chip, out of all of the tight ends that we're talking about, Chip, who is it that you think has the most to prove, or who are you most excited to see in the tight end room?
For me personally, I'm going to be more excited to see with the ways they use Jakeem Bell. Did I say his name right?
Yep.
Because, one thing that hasn't been mentioned, think of all the times we went to the Wildcat package. You could do that with him taking the direct snap. And it could also be our goal line package. He's a big enough guy. He can pound it up in there just as well as Trey Benson. This is what you call an abundance of riches. We have 4 to 5 tight ends at any time. We can run a 2 or 3 tight end package and spread them out wide. It's abundance of riches. Like, I'm really excited as a fan to see what all this brings to the offense and the way it even opens up our offense even more, which, like he said, we don't have a nasty offense. Like, this has potential to be one of the top offense FSU has put out in a long time, if not the best. And that's
I agree. And what I would say to that is, and I'm not trying to be negative, I'm being completely sincere here, and I'm concerned because of past tense of what's happened in the 2022 season in a couple of games. As long as our coaching staff doesn't try to get cute, we will have one of the nastiest offenses in the country. If we start trying to get too cute, then things could go wrong and we don't look as efficient as we should. I don't want to see us pitching on the 2-yard line. I don't want to see us going for it on our own 30 on 4th and 12. Certain stuff to that nature. I don't think you should get into the situations where you're 4th and 12 at your own 30, but things happen, penalties happen, stuff can happen to where it happens. But try to figure out how to flip the field, play a little bit more strategic. Now, if we're going for it on 4th and 12 on their 30, I don't have as many issues or problems with that because it's technically as good as a punt at that point in time. But we have to stay disciplined, not only as players, but we need to stay disciplined as coaches, because we start feeling like sometimes there is a such thing as you believe in your guys too much. And then there's certain scenarios to where when you don't have momentum on your side, maybe even referees are calling everything that they possibly can against you. You're in a lull. It's almost like being in a batter slump where you're just not hitting good. You don't trust your guys to the fullest extent when the game's potentially on the line. And I'm not knocking Norvell's coaching ability. I think that it's hugely appreciated that he believes in his guys. But also, I want to see us play more the championship level football that I think we should be able to play in those games. I don't think if we don't make it on that 4th and 12 that decides us winning the ball game. Obviously, if it's 4th and 12 or on our own 30, there's only 3 minutes left on the clock, and we're down by 3 points. Well, absolutely, we have to go for it. Punting the ball makes 0 sense at that point in time. But you don't do it when we're in the second quarter and the game's a tie game where we're up. It just doesn't make sense to force the position is what I'm getting at. So there are situations and scenarios where, yes, you have to go for it on 4th down. But there were certain situations last year that maybe we trusted in our guys a little bit too much. I don't necessarily want to see that too much this season, because I will be honest, the more things that go right for Florida State, the more reasons I don't have to say stuff to defend ignorant play calls. I hate defending ignorant play calls. Like, it really bothers me. But I will do it till my dying in because I don't like anybody talking bad about the coaches or the kids. And especially when you get mad at the kids when the play doesn't go right. And you're like, well, if he would have just caught the ball, then blah, blah, blah. I get that. But you're not out there under the situation. The circumstances are easy for us to look at and say, you should have caught the ball or this should have happened. But to actually be in those situations, that type of pressure isn't something that most of the people listening have ever been through. So you don't really get it until you've done it. So it's not just as simple as what people think. Like I think people take for granted clear kickoff receptions or clear punt receptions. That's one of the hardest things to do on the football field is to actually receive a punt. It's not an easy task, believe it or not. It's very hard to do. And we see people do it, make it look so routine. But even last year, when I forget who it was that always scared me it was Michael Pittman. Every time he went to catch a punt return, it scared me to death because it was like the very last second he picked his hands up. And I always had like a little heart-stopping moment because I thought he was going to muff the punt. Luckily, we didn't muff any punts last year. But all in the same, I got scared enough. But we will be moving on to the running back room because I definitely agree with both of y'all in the tight end room. I think that who will necessarily be your shining star, so to speak, that maybe not expected because I think everyone expects Jaheim Bell and Kyle Morlock and Biscuit to do a good job. I think Brian Courtney is going to be the surprise star in the room to where he's going to be really efficient in when his number is called, the same way that when Riot Rector threw him the 2-point conversion. It was a good pass, but it was also a pass that could have been dropped because it was a little bit of a reach to make the play. So definitely agree. And before we jump to the running back room, Michael Bartz hit us with a $5 donation. I think one bad play should not determine winning the game. No snowballing. And that's exactly what I was meaning in the previous conversation that I was having, is that we should never be in a situation where one play determines the entire play of the game. Because I think we have an offense that's going to be talented enough to not get in those situations. And a lot of people are talking about this, and I'm probably fixing to change the direction if I do this, so I'll wait. But let's go to the running back room real quick. You obviously have Trey Benson, who was your closest to being a 1,000-yard rusher last year. Trayshawn Ward obviously has transferred out and went to Kansas State. Wish him nothing but the best of luck. A lot of people are asking, why did Trayshawn leave? Was it because he wasn't going to get enough carries? Blah, blah, blah. All I will say is the only thing that changed in the running back room for the decision happening of Trayshawn Ward is Keziah Holmes is now eligible to play football. And Keziah Holmes, from everything that I've heard and seen, he's the best of both worlds of Trey Benson and of Trayshawn Ward. He's very lucid. He's very patient, but he's also very strong and very fast to hit the hole. So if he's doing both things as good as the other two did their one thing, then maybe Trayshawn felt like he was going to be sharing snaps with two other backs instead of just one, or potentially even four, because Toa Philly gets on the field quite a bit. So I think the reason that Trayshawn actually left wasn't because he was scared of competition, but his last season in college football wasn't it's not the year to be competing with three or four other backs to be on the field, because everyone is as talented as they are. So I'm not stating that he's scared of competition. I'm stating business-wise, it's a better decision to be that guy somewhere else, to be the one guy that's going to carry the team as far as carrying the rock. So I think a lot of people are shying away on Keziah Holmes because they don't know him yet. They seen a little bit of what he did at Penn State. Rodney Hill, being a redshirt freshman this year, there's no worries about how much he gets in the game or how much he doesn't. He can play every game now. So there was a lot of guys that are in this room that I think Trayshawn didn't necessarily want to go, well, I'm not battling everybody in this room to get playtime. So it made sense for him to move on. What I will ask, starting with James, do we still think Trey Benson is your leading rusher for 2023, or do you think one of the other guys are going to push that narrative to their name?
Now, healthy Trey Benson is going to be your starting guy with a lot of help from a from uh, Toa Feely. I think those are going to be your 1-2 punches, and I think Rodney Hill will be the guy that gets the most. That's me talking. I'll know more on March 6th, probably more on March 10th, after I go check out the first practice, and after I go check out, I'll probably be back there checking out the Friday practice. Hopefully, they'll be banging. I always go see the first day, and I like to see the first day of full contact. I think I'll take 3 visits this year. I got to bring me and my son skip school once a year to go watch some spring ball. It's a good father son bonding moment. But I heard good things about him on scout team, but I gotta see it for my own stuff. But I do know what Toa Feely brings you. I don't necessarily care for his running style, and I don't mean that in a negative way. I just believe he's a slot wide receiver. I truly believe he would take this offense to another level if you would use him in a similar role to what Mike Norvell used Gibson when he was at Memphis. So yeah, give him the ball, give it to him on jet sweeps, let him be an athlete in space. I just I don't really care for him running in between the tackles. It's my preference. I like Trey Benson doing it, but I also like what I saw in the limited action against Roddy Hill. I hope this spring we get a chance to see more. If Keziah Holmes is that guy, or if Rodney Hill is going to be that guy, we see more of these guys because we already know what Trey Benson can do. We already kind of have an idea what Todd Philly gives us. But what can these guys do, and how much more improved is the offensive line? Because if the offensive line is one more step improved, and what I mean by that is that they're not getting, you don't got 2 or 3 guys getting stalemated where you're having a bulge in the line, but everybody's kind of consistently moving it. I think that's when you'll see some bigger gains as well.
Yeah, and before I switch over to Chip, I want to give a shout out to Dave for his 499 dono. He says, "Who do you see in rotation opposite of Cypress, consisting of Thomas Green, or do we slide Green to the slot? Also, Holmes could push for the running back 2 position." The opposite side from Cypress is going to be Green. So if you go opposite side, it's Cypress, then Green, and then in the slot you would have AZ, and then on the other slot side you're going to have Jerry and Jones. In the way I'm seeing it, but remember in rotation, because these guys aren't going to play every down, you're going to see multiple guys step into positions that are going to mix things up. So Cypress is always going to be on the strong side, unless they change something for whatever reason. I don't think Cypress came here to change positions personally. So I think you're going to see him on the strong side of the field, regardless of whoever your number 1 wide receiver is, that he's going to be against. So Ronaldo is going to be on the short side of the field most of the time, which he was last year as well. But you're not going to see guys switch to the number 1 wide receivers when I'm getting at. Like if the number 1 guy lines up on the short side of the field, then Ronaldo is going to be covering him. If he's on the strong side of the field, then you're going to have Cypress covering him. Like you have to be able to depend on both of your star corners, so to speak, to cover a number 1 wide receiver. You can't switch them just because of whatever reasons, in my opinion. And AZ already, in my opinion, stepped out and let everybody know that he was the real deal with what little playtime he had. And then you don't want to forget about Greedy Vance. Greedy is going to be, I think, a much improved player this year. So I think you see Greedy on the field a lot more than people anticipate. Because Greedy's got the ability to, I think he had 3 or 4 interceptions last year, something to that nature. But Greedy is going to be a good player as well, so don't count him out. But jumping into the running back room with Chip, I want to think that, and maybe I'm calling this right, I think Chip's most excited to see Rodney Hill just because of what glimpses we had of him last year. But Chip, let everyone know why Rodney is the kid that you're just set on for 2023.
He's the combination of, he's got terrific speed, he hits the hole like a bat out of hell, pardon my language. And he damn sure isn't scared of contact. Now, we all know TB3 is our bell cow. We're going to go as far as a healthy Trey Benson takes us. Philly's going to get his carries, his touches, whether it's through running the ball or receptions. But to me, the two dark horses are Holmes, what he's going to contribute on the offense, and Hill. Like, you're going to see Hill get a lot more touches. And he reminds me of Derrick Henry. When I say like Derrick Henry, it seemed like Hill was getting stronger with every carry. And that's what you want out of your running back. You want somebody, as you know, the game goes on and as they're wearing down the defense, they just keep coming, and it just seems like each run gets tougher and tougher and tougher, and harder for the defensive backs and the linebackers to tackle them.
And a lot of people are going back and forth with who's running back number 2. I don't personally think you have a running back 2. I think after the first guy, it's whatever situation is set up for who's coming in. And the reason I say that is because it's been that way for Mike Norvell's era here at Florida State. He never had a true number 2. Really didn't have a true number 1 guy. The way that I saw it, I never seen that it was Trayshawn Ward, or even when Coleman was still here. I think Coleman was the lead guy, but you saw other guys start coming in more and more. I honestly think that's why Coleman decided to move on to the league, is because it wasn't going to be he's a true number 1 running back. And then you had Trayshawn that just got scholarship, and then you had Trey Benson. It was just so many things, kind of the same reason I think Trayshawn moved on. I think that's why Coleman went to the league, because he wasn't going to compete with every one of these backs to get playtime when he could be the lead guy somewhere else. The running back room is dynamic at Florida State. The tight end room is now going to be dynamic at Florida State. So there's no question that Florida State's wide receiver room has completely improved with the transfer portal guys that came in. And now you're talking about what Hakeem Williams is going to bring to the table, even in his true freshman year. And then you've got guys coming back that you probably – there's so many things to be excited about on offense. It's why it's so much fun to talk about. But where fans are mostly worried are on the defensive side. So I kind of understand it. But when your offense looks so good, it's not that your defense is bad. It's that you have a whole lot of weapons on offense. And your defense, like, everybody gives it a bad rep. And I'm going to let James take this a little bit, because we talked about it since Fuller's been here. Everybody gives Fuller a hard time. Everybody says that we're not recruiting linebackers well. Everybody says that our DBs get burned at times. James, go into the reason why our defense will be okay this season, from whatever reasons. Let everybody know why we think the defense is going to play good ball.
Well, one is, to me, it's simple, right? The defense has improved every year under Fuller, and we have to look at the excuses that were made for the offense are similar to what the defense has. So in 2020, when our offense wasn't doing anything, everybody blamed the defense, but they said, well, the offense isn't clicking because of COVID. Like, the defense had these secret practices during COVID that everybody else wasn't aware of. Then you got improvements. You were able to get a defensive end, and then you said, well, that was Mike Norvell's reason why we got Jermaine Johnson. And then you got Jared Verse, and then you saw this, and it's for everything that Coach Fuller has done to show you that he is a learning and a really, really good defense coordinator. You'll counteract it with an excuse that doesn't make sense. Like, when you look at the 3 games that we lost, what more do you want him and his defense to do against North Carolina State, who they knocked out one of the best quarterbacks in the nation at that time, and now he's transferred. He's no longer there. And they scored 1 offensive touchdown. We didn't lose that game because of the defense is not stopping people. One time, I think that was when Mike Norvell went for it on our side of the field, and you held him to a field goal. And every year I'm like, Mike Norvell puts Fuller in some very precarious situations that the only thing Fuller could do to make people like him more would be what my defensive coordinator when I played at Florida State did. Mickey Andrews would cuss us out when we did something when they just got off the field and we turned the ball over, or they've been on the defense for long and they gave up a long drive and they need a spell and we get a 3-and-out. He's cussing us out. But here's what I want people to realize. In 13 games, you've got Ohio State. I don't think Ohio State's firing their defensive coordinator. They finished 14th in the nation. Well, Saban's probably the only person. Well, Saban didn't fire his defensive coordinator. No, he did. But that's Saban. He can do that. Georgia didn't fire their DC. They were top 10. And the rest of the teams that are above that, I don't think we would say that they have a better defense than ours. We would say who they're playing against. And then people want to look at the University of Florida. So I get schedules, right? Let's just talk about talent, right? FSU, I go to the combine on Wednesday. You know how many we have the same amount of players being represented at the combine as the school that's across the train tracks from us. And FAMU, we have one. We're talking about Jamie Robinson. They have Isaiah Land. The University of Florida has 9. That means there are 9 players that we went up against that, on top of losing 3 transfers to big-time Power 5 schools that are looking at them as guys who could take them over the top, one being USC with the offensive line. That was a good – if Florida had the number 1 rushing attack in the SEC, how are they killing us in the beginning? We were probably a little bit too – we couldn't stop the run, too aggressive on that, on top of having Akeem Dent, who's taking 1 reps all week, tweak his ankle in the pregame and not play the game at all. And you had a guy come in who's gotten reps, but he's just not – it's the reason why Akeem was the starter. And I'm trying – Shaheem Brown technically played the same safety role that Jamie Robinson played. So it's not the same exact position. So I'm not here to make excuses for Adam Fuller, but what I am saying is every year the defense has improved with the talent. And from that, the rankings have improved exponentially. And when you look at who he played against, Wake Forest, one of the better offenses in the nation at the time when he was playing, Clemson, he held to a number that we should have won, and even the Wake Forest game, which was his worst game, in my opinion, by far. It was a bad half. They scored the first drive coming out, and then they scored 3 points to steal the game. They literally shut Wake Forest down for 1 3/4 of a quarter in that second half. There was plenty of time for Florida State's offense. Mickey Andrews said it best, and Bobby said it best. A good defense is going to win you 8 games.
Mm-hmm.
The offense has to bail you out 4 of those. They did it 2 games, but they did not do it 4, and that's the difference between championship football. So I think the old people say you don't look a gift horse in the mouth. We keep doing that with Fuller, trying to replace him, and I keep asking people, who? You want James Madison's DC? They were ranked 5th in the nation. I guarantee you, none of you guys know who the hell that guy is. And if Mike Norvell did hire him, you'd be mad. You want Boise State's DC? I just think sometimes he wasn't the sexy hire. I don't want to waste too much time. He just wasn't a sexy name, and he's the easy guy to pick on. He's not flamboyant. He doesn't talk trash. He's actually the perfect type of guy and I think he's never going. No disrespect to him. He's the type of guy that's going to be here for another 10 years because I don't know if he has the wants to be a head coach unless it's a good situation. I like Fuller. I'm sorry. My son liked Fuller from the first time he met him, and Trey doesn't like anybody. So like when Trey likes you, like that should have been my first saying.
Well, I definitely agree, and I'm actually a fan of Fuller's because personally, I think that he was able to do some really good things with lesser talent. I'm not knocking our guys that we had when we started. But what I'm stating is they did not fit the defensive scheme that Fuller had. And with him being able to make the stops that were able to be stopped, and then the next year get a couple more guys in, and then like James has said, each year has progressed into a better statistic defense. Each and every year we have statistically become better. And obviously we became better because we won 10 ball games. So obviously we did something right. Some games that we lost the previous year to that in the 2021 season, we did not lose in 2022. And there is no way that we can say that our defense isn't a big reason why we won 10 ball games, because they have to be. You have to stop people from scoring as much as you do for you to win ball games. So obviously the defense did a great portion of their job. And also the greatest point that James made, in my opinion, is that Coach Norvell put Fuller in that defense in some hella situations, like really, really bad situations. When you're going for it on 4th and 12 on your own 30 and you don't complete that, but your defense holds them to a field goal, that is the biggest win you can get out of that situation.
Exactly.
Like, you deserve for a touchdown to be scored against you, and all depletion go throughout your team at that point in time. And it hasn't happened. So this defense has stood strong in very bad situations. They've come back on the field off of goofy turnovers, immediately have been on the field for 11 plays, and then get the ball back and then turn the ball over on the third play of the drive, and the defense is right back out there, and they stopped them again. So I'm not going to sit here and say that our defense isn't just as good as our offense, because last year, in my opinion, the defense saved the offense multiple times, especially against Florida. Like, at first, we were allowing them to run all over us. Not really allowing, but they were just that good. Like, these ETN brothers are Florida State's hugest thorn that we've had in the past decade. Like, first we had the one that was at Clemson. Now we got one at Florida. We can't get away from the ETN brothers for some reason. They're always going to be playing against us. So last year, I think after halftime, our defense adjusted very well to stopping him. Mm-hmm. And then they got pass happy because they were playing from behind. Now we got to figure out how to shut this little white boy down, because he's back. If I'm not mistaken, he's back. So that wide receiver gave us absolute hell last year. The only possibility we have to that not being a problem is I don't trust that Florida's quarterback is going to be all that great. So hopefully, I think Anthony Richardson was completely underrated. I also don't think he was developed well coach-wise, because I have a huge feeling that he's going to be a top 20 pick in this draft. And people are going to go, why? Because the kid's a physical specimen. Like, he has every possible tool that you would need to be a great quarterback, in my opinion. So I think that people are going to see real development in the league for Anthony Richardson, and he ends up being someone in the NFL personally. So we'll see. I can't promise that, but I think that there's not going to be too many teams not pick that kid. Someone's going to pick him up because he's going to end up being something. But staying on Florida State, Chip, we're going to move a little bit into the linebacker situation on defense, because a lot of people are worried about how we're recruiting the linebacker position, so to speak. I think people are forgetting about Nichols. I think people are also forgetting about Omar Graham Jr. I know he's not technically, like Adam Fuller wasn't the sexy hire. Well, Omar might not have been the sexy get in recruiting, but this kid is going to be, I think, phenomenal at Florida State. And then you're talking about bringing on the transfer of Tatum Bethune, which he ended up doing a great job, in my opinion. And then you can't say enough about what Kalen DeLoach did. So I personally think we're all right at linebacker. But what do you think as far as the linebacker core goes? Do you think we are okay, better than okay, or less, we're below average?
I'd rate us just a solid B right now until the season starts. And we see the way that the spring develops our younger players. I mean, like you said, you got DeLoach, we got Lundy, we've got players there. Now, how are we developing our younger talent? That's going to be the big answer. And, like James said, James is going to be at a lot of their practices. He's going to see firsthand how they are developing under Fuller's system. And not to piggyback off what you and James said about Fuller, people still have to remember this is a very young staff. We all love Norvell. One of the things about Norvell that you got to love and hate is he's almost like a riverboat gambler as a coach. He's going to do some things that make big splash plays, and he's going to do some things that just leave you scratching your head going, what the hell? But what him and Fuller did from their first year is they basically, and this is not knocking the talent we had at Florida State, they turned chicken shit into chicken salad, pardon my language. And they did with what they had until they got their players in. I know that kind of went off subject, but I wanted to get that off my mind.
No, that's perfectly fine. James, as far as the defensive line, which I think is the Mercedes, so to speak, of the defense right now, what do you think about the defensive line as far as being able to stop the run and maybe give the running back like ETN problems, or even Shipley at Clemson, because we have to stop him? So what do you think about the defensive line this year versus last year? Is it improved?
I think health is one of the key things. I think actually, again, one of the benefits of playing Clemson early is that you hope you don't lose Fabian Lovett in the first game like you lost him last year. You saw what he's able to do healthy against LSU. He's very stout. You bring in Brandon Fisk, who was the number one D tackle transfer in the nation when he came in. So he's supposed to help you be gritty, grind, be able to help with the pass rush as well. But you got Josh Farmer, who came on pretty late, large kid, really big kid. And his teammate from high school, Daryl Jackson, who I believe will be cleared on waivers. But having a big body like him and not having him try to guard wide receivers on the wheel route should potentially make you more stout in the game. Dennis Briggs Jr. will probably give you a little bit more of a good pass rush on those third and long situations. But the pickup that we got that not very many people were high on it, like, yeah, we would have rather had the 5-star South Carolina kid that went to Oregon. But Gilbert Edmond, when you look at his film, what he was able to do was set the edge in the defensive end position. So if he's able to give you something more in the run game that they didn't really have last year, and this is no knock on Derek McClendon or even Verse, who's both guys that would probably be more comfortable trying to get to the pass rusher. You've got to have consistency and discipline on the edge. When you look at what Oklahoma was able to do to us, you look at what LSU is going to probably try to do to us with their shifty quarterback that is not necessarily trying to kill you with his legs, but being a willing runner. When you look at the teams that kind of could beat us with that, you need a guy who's very stout and is more concerned with making sure that nobody out leverages him as he is about sacks. So I think those are the key pickups. And if you're able to get the double teams in the interior, that will make a B plus or B linebacker core into an A minus, because now they don't have to worry about guys coming off of double teams and getting to them early. They're able to make reads and traffic. And the Randy Shannon defense, the linebackers have very little responsibility besides they play ball. Go find the ball and go get to it. And that's what made Randy Shannon really successful back in the day. So that front seven is critical to what the success is in taking an Adam Fuller defense to the next level.
Absolutely agree. Well, we're hitting that 6-minute mark of what's left. So obviously, both of them did this, and I didn't notice Chips until just a second ago. But you can find James where he's wanting you to follow him right now. Subscribe to his YouTube channel at Den Media Group. He also has a personal YouTube channel that he's going to start dropping content on once it gets to 1,000 subscribers, which is James Coleman, or no, is it Big Game James?
Big Game James _36.
So make sure that you go find both and subscribe to both. I ask a lot of the fans that watch our show. I ask you to subscribe to everyone's channel. I ask you to become a member of my channel. I ask you to be members of Spirit Addicts. And now I'm asking you to be members of Unconquered 850. So make sure that you do all those things. That way you don't miss anything. Because what I notice a lot of is people getting in here on the show asking questions that I have seen answers to on not just my page, but on Chip's page, on James's channel, or what have it. And if y'all were following everyone, you wouldn't miss out on any of the information. So making sure that you go and check out James's channel at Den Media Group on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel. He also has a membership, 2 memberships there, whatever it is. But you can go check those out. If you check the perks out, because you more than get your money's worth with what he's got in the perks. If you go check out Chip's page, he's trying to give away a full-sized helmet signed by multiple players.
Mini helmet.
Mini helmet, excuse me. Whatever, it's all good shit. I'm giving away a mini helmet too. So anyways, regardless, James is giving away $200 once Den Media Group's YouTube channel hits 2,000 subscribers. Then once it hits 3, he's giving 300, and so on and so on. So we are about giving back to everyone that supports us. So make sure that you support us so you have those opportunities of winning. So the winner has been picked, and I wrote a text message to the person while James and Chip were talking a minute ago as far as the softball tickets go. If they reply to me and tell me that they can go, then I will announce who won. If they tell me they can't go, then I will pick a new winner and find out if they can go. But with that, everyone, I want y'all to make sure that by following Spear Addicts, you're not following James's page and you're not following Chip's page. So make sure that I'm looked at as a good host and that y'all follow them as well as you're following me, because I want all of us to be near the same number. That way there's no questions on who's following who. I appreciate everything that y'all do for my channel and my page, but I'm asking you to do more. I want you to do more because it's worth your time. Trust me. I'm gathering information off of what James puts out. I'm gathering information off of what Chip puts out. Like, I find out more stuff about Old Knowles off of Chip's page than if I go Wikipedia. And I find more stuff out about what's going on in culture, period, with James's show than I would care to ever look up, and he makes it fun. And plus, what he gets told on a day-to-day basis by the former Knowles that he talks to. That drops on his show at 10 o'clock in the morning, so he doesn't have time to text Chris and say, hey, Chris, such and such is happening, and so-and-so's coming, blah, blah, blah. No, he drops on his show. So when you miss it, you miss it. But if you were subscribed to the channel, you wouldn't miss any of it.
And you would know is one of the busiest people in sports entertainment as there is. He's got his hands in everything. Yeah. Literally.
So make sure that y'all are following everyone. Just do everything that you can. And what was the previous comment, Chip? Because I didn't hear it.
I said, James, well, a lot of people don't know he has his hands in literally everything in sports entertainment.
Oh, absolutely. And it's kind of wild because he's drugged me into it. But I was willing. I wasn't drugged. No one twisted my arm. I willfully walked into the shadows of all this different stuff that we can do now. So it's all been great. But we've got 2 minutes left. Guys, I appreciate y'all coming on as always. Remember, on James's channel, there's going to start being a lot of Florida State information get dropped. He's going to have me on there as well. And you're also going to see this show on his channel as well at times, so that everyone's followers are getting a piece of. Believe it or not, James has people that won't follow me. And I have people that for some reason won't follow his channel. We don't know why. So we're going to give it to everybody from every which end. So we're going to make sure that everybody gets it, because we're going to cram it down your throat. So with that, guys, I appreciate y'all coming on. I'm going to finish this up with 1 minute and 30 seconds I got left.